We have made it to the end of 2021. This year was a big one for me in terms of reading. I set myself out on a 100-book Goodreads challenge at the beginning of the year. January through May looked a lot like 2020. It was very quiet. I was in my childhood bedroom being sad and working from home and listening to Evermore and reading all the time. And so this challenge felt very doable. And then vaccinations happened. I moved back to LA and it's been a chaotic time since then. I'm approaching this end of year very emotionally drained, and this reading challenge is about 33% of the reason, and I will not be doing it again. I don't regret it. As I'm filming this, it's like December 14th right now, and I'm at 94. I will hit 100. Like, I have to. I have no choice. I know what I'm gonna read going forward. Like, I got this. But wow, I'm very proud of myself, but I'm also like, that was dumb. Did not need to do that. One and done. However, because I read so much this year, I indeed read lots of life-changing books, lots of new favorites, and I can do a top 21 of 2021, and it's like not even a quarter of what I've read. Earlier in the year, I put out this video called The Evolution of a Goodreads Goal. The message that I was trying to get across was that, like, in 2021, we needed to not do things like that. We needed to take it easy and approach this year and not touch anything. But then I very quickly set that goal for myself and manifested what I went through in the sketch. So if you haven't seen that, I will link that up here in the description as well. In the spirit of ranking things, I also have a top 100 songs of the year on my Spotify. I'll link the playlist in the description. I had a lot of fun ranking songs that I loved this year, and just it's a thing I like to do. So if you're interested, links below. So without further ado, we've got 21 books to talk about. Let's do this. Coming in at number 21 is Love in the Big City by Sang-Young Park. This is a very recent read for me. I discovered it sort of on a whim just from reading a review of it, and I was like, yes, hello, I want that. It's very much my vibe, queer love story, sort of journey through this man's life, through different stages of his life, living with HIV, living in Seoul, queer relationships, coming of age, a really powerful friendship story. It's really beautifully written, beautifully translated. It's the first of Sang-Young Park's books to be translated to English, and I really hope it's not the last. It is emotional and vibrant and just heavy sometimes, but also just like the writer, he kind of just wraps you in this assuring hug that's kind of like self-deprecating and funny sometimes, and just like, it's the kind of writing I could live inside. I also covered this book in Queerty, which is an online publication that I've been writing for this year. I've been doing some freelance writing, so if you're interested, I wrote about this book and actually a lot of books that I'm going to talk about in this video in this new article that's published, so that's fun. Link to that will be in the description. Number 20 on my list, I really wanted to give a nod to Barack Obama's memoir, A Promised Land. I read this book cover to cover in those first 5 months of the year. When I tell you, there was just this chapter of my life where I would wake up every day, get my coffee, and read this book for like an hour, like a chapter at a time in the mornings before I would start working. Wow, that's just a different lifetime. But this monster of a book is part 1 of 2. Part 2 will probably come out in 3 or 4 years. Such a delight reading this book. My favorite sections were the earlier ones of pre-presidential election and then the actual race of 2008, his account of the debates and Hillary Clinton, what he went through during that time. I look back on that time, I was in 5th grade during that election, so I don't recall a whole lot, but it was definitely, you know, happening in my childhood sphere of awareness. So his take on Sarah Palin is really interesting. It's piping hot. It definitely gets dense and policy driven like in the middle, but you can get through it. Number 19 on my list is You Exist Too Much by Zaina Arafat. Oh my god. So I obviously did quite a few audiobooks this year. I read a decent amount of novels with my eyes and a lot of poetry, and this is one that I read on my Kindle and like am glad I did. It's one that I am happy to have absorbed slowly and with my eyes. It also leans more literary fiction. This woman who is a love addict and also recovering from an eating disorder, has a lot going on in this very tumultuous relationship. She is bisexual, and there's a really powerful coming out scene. I feel like had this book been the entire time like what it was in the first quarter, it would actually be way higher on my list. But it's still in this top 21. I loved and adored this book. It is a masterclass of a character study and character development. Oh, I can't say enough about it. Number 18 on my list is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I read this one back in February. It is, oh my god, so wonderful. One of the best YAs of the year. Just won the National Book Award. There's a companion novel coming out in 2022 that I am even more excited for. I think it's gonna be even higher on the list than this one is. It is a coming of age young Asian woman in San Francisco in the 1950s during the Red Scare. There's also some family history in it. It is a love story. It is masterfully written. It's emotional, but it's also well researched. It's one where if you're just interested in writing YA at all too, it's a good study. But beyond that, it's just also a really entertaining and lovely book. Number 17 on my list is We Play Ourselves by Jen Silverman. This freaking book really scratched an itch for me. That is like the messy theater 30-something moving to LA, like working on a mess of a movie and like going through a really hard time and having just had a breakdown. I mean, it's like, I want to watch this book on TV. Jen Silverman's also a TV writer out here now and is a playwright. It's also one of those where when we meet the main character, she's coming off of this really traumatic event that we don't quite know what it is yet, so there's this carrot in front of our faces for a while, and it's a really good carrot when we get to it, and it's just really fun getting there too. This book did not break out that much. I just, it's a joyride of a book. Coming in at number 16, I have Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. This is their memoir. You know Jonathan Van Ness from Queer Eye. Surface level, of course, this book is going to be entertaining and it's going to be funny, and it has sort of behind Queer Eye and how Jonathan got there. But truly, this is a very vulnerable, very real story of a childhood that's not so easy. They struggled with addiction. It tells the story of them being diagnosed with HIV and having some health scares within that. I mean, it is a very, very powerful memoir. Highly recommend doing the audiobook because Jonathan reads it. Number 15 on my list is Gay Bar by Jeremy Atherton Lynn. This is a non-fiction. What I always say about this book is that it is equal parts the title and the subtitle, which is Why We Went Out. So it's equal parts like true history and information. There's also quite a bit of queer theory, why we went out, what it means to go to a gay bar and be surrounded by your community, and also lots of personal accounts from the author. I think it's a really beautiful balance of all of those things. I enjoyed the personal stories. I enjoyed the well-researched history. I read it in those first 5 months when it had been over a year since I had been to a gay bar. So, I mean, reading it truly was like, this feels like a thing of the past a little bit, and it was kind of eerie reading it through that lens, and I'm sure the marketing of this book had a little bit of that in mind too. Lots of tabs in this book, like it's a highlighter for sure. Lots of things that I would go back to if I read it again. Number 14 on my list is a series of 4 books that I read all this year, and it is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. I have the first 3 here. Oh my god, if you don't know what Heartstopper is, it's an adorable queer high school graphic novel series, this relationship between this gay boy and this bisexual boy, and just like their coming out, their love story. It's just so precious. Oh my god, I love these books so much. 3 Sundays in a row in literally January of this year, I read the first 3 just like in one sitting. Can't recommend this enough if you just want to feel good queer YA time. Series slaps. It is so good. Such a bright spot in my year. And the fact that I then got to read volume 4 in December was really nice full circle moment, because I really see this as like a beginning point of the year was reading Heartstopper for me. Number 13 on my list is What Belongs to You by Garth Greenwell. Read this one back in January as well. This is Garth Greenwell's first novel. His second novel, Cleanness, was my number 1 book of 2020. And so I went back and read his first one. I loved this book. Garth Greenwell is one of my favorite writers. Cleanness is shaping up to be favorite book of all time for me. I've read it 1.5 more times this year. It's one that I will finish before the year ends. It really just was like a fascinating moment for me going back to this one and seeing the journey that brought him to cleanness, because there definitely are traces of each book in the other. Similar narrator, similar writing, similar themes, but structurally very different. Cleanness feels like a distillation, and just like the structure of Cleanness, so sexy. This still, I mean, slaps. It's number 13 on my list. Whatever Garth Greenwell's next book is, cannot come soon enough. I could just be swept away in this writing forever and ever. Number 12 on my list is A Passage North by Anouk Arud-Pragasam. This is a devastatingly beautiful, gorgeous book. Another one sort of in line with Garth Greenwell. Garth Greenwell blurbs it, and that is a huge reason why I even picked it up. Tabs are in this book, lots of really stunning lines. Our narrator at the beginning learns that his grandmother's caretaker has died, and it is literally his passage north to attend her funeral, and through that, lots of memories, lots of flashbacks. A personal growth journey ensues of what has happened in Krishan's life. It's about memory and coming of age and loss and what you decide to leave in the past. Number 11 on my list is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This year I had the absolute pleasure of reading the big three TJR books. This one, Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising. Two of them will be in my top 11. This is one of them. And holy shit, I absolutely adored this book. I read it right after reading Evelyn Hugo because I finished Evelyn Hugo and just couldn't get enough. I just wanted to start over, but then I was like, I have Daisy Jones right here. And we have the TV show coming, Hello Sunshine, Amazon, it's happening. Taylor Jenkins Reid was just an absolute highlight of the year for me in so many ways. You have to do the audiobook because it's written as kind of an oral history. Judy Greer is in it, many others, and it's written almost in like, well, exactly in this like radio history, like script-ish format. It's so fun, it is scandalous, it is gonna make such good TV. I can't wait, oh my god. For my number 10, similarly to how I read the 3 big Taylor Jenkins Reid books this year, I read 3 other books by another millennial female, sort of new adulty writer that you may have heard of, Sally Rooney. I'm putting her 3 novels as just tied as number 10 for me because I see having read these 3 books as a singular experience. I could rank them. I would rank them Conversations with Friends, Beautiful World, Where Are You, which came out this year in September, and Normal People. Adored all of them. That's not me saying I didn't like Normal People, but Sally Rooney is just an amazing writer. The characters, the relationships, her observations are so cunning. It's the kind of book that on every single page it's like, why am I even trying to write? Because she is just a master. I'm considering doing a longer video about Sally Rooney, maybe also one about Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like there are 2 writers who have these 3 key books, and there are parallels between them that I find really interesting that I would love to delve into. I don't know if it would be a better video or better written something, I don't know, but that's definitely on my mind. So truly, reading the Sally Rooney collection this year, like I'm caught up, I'm ready. Another sort of bright spot of doing the 100 book challenge is that I did have the endurance to, you know, power through some of these like not chill books that come in pairs of more than 2. I could sit down and decide like, okay, I'm gonna read these 3 Sally Rooney books now, and I would do it because I had a challenge. I had a quota to meet. There's been not a ton of YA on this list. I did read some excellent YA this year, and so I'm gonna change that. Number 9 on my list is Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June. This book was such a delight. I read it during Pride Month. This book just makes me smile thinking about it, like what queer YA is becoming now. Jay's Gay Agenda is a sex positive YA book. I'm just excited that gay teens get to read that and have that touchstone and that representation. Like it really would have meant a lot to me. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest books I've read this year. Very romantic, very dramatic, lots of good friendship stuff in here too. Just all around 5-star YA. We are getting up there. We are in the top 8 right now, and my number 8 of 2021 is The Book of the Summer The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. Holy shit, this book shook my world. My memory of reading this book is like I see myself as the Wicked Witch of the West because I was just like riding my bike through this Colorado trail with the audiobook in my ears. That image is actually appropriate for some things that go down in this book. Follows this 26-year-old editorial assistant. It's very publishing insider fiction. She is the only black girl, which comes with plenty of microaggressions. So Nella is our protagonist, and one day Hazel, another black girl, shows up to work with her. This note appears on Nella's desk one day that says, "Leave Wagner now." And shit goes down from there. It is a little Get Out. It is a wild ride. I would love to talk about the ending right now, but I'm not going to. Really calls out publishing, and like she does not go easy on the publishing industry in this book. It's like, whoo, if you care at all, like from the industry standpoint of publishing, like, this book, it goes there in so very many ways. Coming in at number 7, I have The Anthropocene reviewed by John Green. This is one that I read with my eyes. I know a lot of people did the audiobook because he reads it, but I felt like I hear his voice enough. Not in a bad way, like nothing wrong with his voice, but I wanted to experience his writing again. John Green books have this very special effect on me where I enter a stage of tremendous anxiety after reading them. And that definitely happened with this one, but this is probably aside from Turtles All the Way Down, which is like top 10 books of all time for me, this is my second favorite John Green book. It gets better and better as you go. This is a sort of a collection of essays framed as reviews of the Anthropocene, which is basically the world, and so things like Diet Dr. Pepper and card games and ABC News. But he takes these topics and turns them into life stories and essays, and truthfully I think that structure is not even needed. I would just have read essays from John Green in the way that they arrive to us, kind of Vlogbrothers style, but I don't know, his writing, especially like I said towards the end, the last several essays, probably the last 100 pages, were just absolutely breathtaking. So if I were to go back and read this, I would do it out of order. I would choose my own adventure. Really, really some good stuff in here. And I do recommend reading it. Number 6 on my list is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Oh my god. So I actually read this for the second time this year. It came out this year in late May, early June. I did read an arc of this book in like November, December 2020, but I had a stick up my ass that I couldn't put it on my favorites list because it wasn't a 2020 release. So I didn't, so it gets a high spot on this year's list, and I did read it again this year. Oh my god. I mean, if you're unaware, this is Casey McQuiston's second novel after Red, White, and Royal Blue. I like it even more than Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's so, so good. I've read both of those books twice. New York, queer, early 20s, chosen family, subway, like a little bit of sci-fi. It's magical and just, oh my god. Casey McQuiston is shaping up to be a favorite author of mine. Their first 2 books are faves. I Kissed Shara Wheeler is pretty elite YA as well, so if you're not on board, I would get on board with that one. Number 5 on my list is another YA. This is my favorite YA book of 2021. It was released this year also. Oh my god, I can't say enough good things about this book. It is Indivisible by Daniel Ailman. Main character's in high school. He's an aspiring actor. He has a really great group of friends. He is queer. His parents are immigrants from Mexico and they get detained by ICE. It's really devastating. It is a family story. It is paced beautifully. It is written in this just stunning writing style. I just like, if it's not being adapted, it really, really needs to be like, this is a story that needs to be on screen. I love this book so, so much. Coming in at number 4 is Yes Daddy by Jonathan Parks Ramage. This book just hit in all the right places for me. It's so good. It is a gay thriller. The main character is like 25, falls in love after hunting down basically his hero playwright. It is the gay Get Out. That's just what it is. It's so intense. It's a wild ride. Written beautifully, which is the thing I keep saying, but all these books are. The title is indeed said out loud in the dialogue. So be ready. It's real. I also remember that it was a fantastic audiobook. Number 3 on my list is Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. This book slaps so hard. Oh my god, when I read it back in like April, I think, I thought it would be my #1 book of the year, and just 2 more happened to slide above it. But like this book, oh my god. It's a 2020 release. I finally got my hands on it in the spring. The title is brilliant. I actually have an entire video review of this book, so I don't want to say too much. If you're interested, I am pretty non-spoilery in my review, so links will happen on up here. It is brutal. It is shocking. I've never read such an honest account of being trans and living in a city, what the community experiences, and just the individual. It's like, it's harrowing. It is like not a chill book. At all. Overall, holy shit. And if you're interested, I have a full video review. My #2 book of the year is not a new release. It is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I told you there would be another TJR book, and it's, oh my god, it's this one. Again, when I read this one, I was like, this is my #1 book of the year. And then something else passed it up. But it's hard to imagine anyone disliking this book. Just the pacing of her writing, the structure of it. I mean, this is a story that is told over multiple decades of a career and a life and a love and just so much drama. And so it's not a crazy long book. I mean, it's a decent sized novel, but like, it's because of that structure, the scenes we get are the ones that are the most intense. It is just one thing after another that is just like life-changing, hugely dramatic. This, as well as Daisy Jones, I can't wait to see on screen. I have a little more faith in the Daisy Jones adaptation, but we will see. I am just so in love with this book and the characters. There's an element of this book that I guess is common knowledge, but I did not know until I was in it. And I texted my friends when I got there and I was like, this thing? And they were like, how did you not know that? I don't even want to say it, but like, I also have a full review of this and Daisy Jones on my channel, so I will link that up here. And if you would like to freak out with me, myself, back in like May, then please. And my #1 book of the year, of course, the one that made me cry the most, the one that literally just like shook me psychologically. Like, there is my year before reading this book and my year after reading this book. Life even. Just, oh my god, this book, I'm almost upset that I have read it. Like, it's so upsetting. And it is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. Just so stunning, so gorgeously written, and so it's a memoir basically about losing her mother to cancer, and that is what it is about, one essay/chapter at a time. The opening chapter was an essay that she had published in the New Yorker a few years ago or so. The following chapters sort of just expand on her life growing up, and you know, it's framed through the lens of, we know her mother is going to die. And I listened to the audiobook for this one as well because Michelle Zauner reads it, and I had this moment, I was folding laundry and listening to this book, and I just like got to the end of a certain chapter and curled over sobbing. This book had such a huge impact on me. Just the writing, I hope she decides to write fiction or more essays or something. Like, I want more from her. We do have more from her because she's also Japanese Breakfast, the band. Sort of the companion album to this book is Jubilee, their new album. There are actually lyrical parallels where lines from this book appear in songs on that album, which was really fun to kind of pick up on my own as I was switching between the music and the book. Like, it felt like I was entering a devastating cinematic universe. Really did a number on me, this book. I'm not happy about it, but just nothing could top this book this year for me. It was so good. Well, thank you for sticking with me. Those are my top 21 books of 2021. I can't believe I did this goddamn challenge. I read so many. Hard to say whether I'll have a top 22 next year. Maybe top 10, maybe I'll chill out. I really want in the new year to like watch more movies, be a little more balanced with my art consumption, so we'll see. There will be a break taken, for sure. I'm tired. I'm fucking tired. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tiernan. Links to everything will be in the description. Have a good one. Happy New Year. Please feel free to let me know your favorite books of the year in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. I will see you next time. Goodbye!